This is Parent, Boss, Leader. Parent, boss, leader. And here's your host. She's a courageous voice for women, parents, and modern workforce leaders alike. She's a keynote speaker and proud mother of two, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at ATR International, Laura R Munson.
Hello and welcome to the podcast, Parent, Boss, Leader, an interactive podcast where I interview leaders across industry about their secret sauce in leadership, backgrounds, often their parents. It's very exciting to follow us. If you're interested, like and subscribe. Today, hello, Jeffrey Vique. Excited to have you as a guest. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Laura. Very excited to be a part of the show.
Yeah. So Jeffrey Vique, Customer Success Manager at ServiceNow. We're going to explore your involvement with the community organizations like UNIDOS, LEDC, your role with the Pan American Symphony Orchestra, your extracurricular activities enriching your life, and really digging into how you balance such a demanding career and then also being an active parent and your evolution in your leadership style. So again, Jeff, welcome to the show. And I'll jump into our first question. How does that sound?
Sounds phenomenal.
Perfect. So tell us a little bit about your role as a board member of UNIDOS and your marketing efforts for the team, suggesting a strong commitment to community involvement. What drives this passion?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the marketing, formerly was the marketing and communications lead for UNIDOS. They're an affinity group here at ServiceNow, focused on Latin American and Hispanic heritage and culture, and making sure that the voices and the knowledge of the culture spread out across the ServiceNow internal community. And as of this year, actually this month, I am now the global co-chair. So I'm leading the efforts globally for the affinity group this year, and looking very much forward to that. And one of the things that drove me to be involved with the affinity group was a couple things. The first one was the fact that I am a Latino, first gen Latino, and in tech, which we don't see us out there too much in this particular industry. So this was a good way for me to spread the word, within the ServiceNow community of my culture and of what we can bring as a culture to the workforce, especially in the tech industry and then within ServiceNow.
Very exciting. I know, Jeffrey, when you and I connected, we had met for coffee several months back. You have one of the coolest backgrounds of your involvement, even outside of work, your reach into the community. It's very contagious, your passion that you have. And I love how much you've been even helping the Latino group. And I wanted to ask, speaking of being on the board of advisors for the Latino Economic Development Center, you're involved in providing crucial housing and small business guidance. What impact have you seen from your work here, especially as it pertains to, say, minority-owned businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So just reverting back to ServiceNow and UNIDOS, that's what kind of sparked my interest in helping my community, right? Being involved with the affinity group. That then evolved at some point for me to start looking outwards within the local community that I'm in the Northern Virginia, DC metro area. And I was able to join the board for the Latino Economic Development Center. And what that does is it's got a couple different arms associated with helping the not just Latino community, but the minority community in general. And then being first gen, it hit close to home, considering that as a first gen Latino, I had to really be the jack of all trades for my parents, who were immigrants in the 80s, and figure out and navigate a pretty distant world that I wasn't used to, from FAFSA to housing to tenant law to how to spin up a business, how to make it grow, and that sort of thing. So this organization hit real close to home, as it related a lot to how I grew up and the conditions I grew up in, which resulted in me wanting to make a difference. So the Latino Economic Development Center does just that. It helps the minority-owned businesses in the DC metro area get consulting on how to grow, how to get established. Also provides them with grants and loans to be able to really grow, right, and create a community within the community. And then on top of that, it also has an arm where it helps out with guidance on tenant and housing and first-time home buying assistance and programs and that kind of thing. So that we're all aware, which is another passion of mine. It's real close to home.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. How often, I mean, you grew up, you mentioned your parents in the 80s came over, immigrants. How often does someone who is a child in that situation grow up and really make an impact? You're involved with so many groups. You're using your own experience to really help push groups forward. I think that is inspiring. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's inspiring because you lived it as a first gen, but then also you're kind of forced to grow up a little bit quicker, right? The maturity level, because you have to serve as a translator, as a bookkeeper, as a financier, as someone navigating, for example, college for the first time, and how to navigate the forms that you have to fill out, how to navigate the transcripts, and how to send them, who to send them to, and that kind of thing. So my upbringing has culminated to this cultural exchange, is what I'll call it, that's wanted me to help and continue on with the work, so that more and more people are fully aware of what's out there, what help is out there for them, right? So they're not struggling alone with it.
Yeah, so well said. You're not struggling alone. To me, it can be hard because there's you nail on the head. Going through college applications is hard for anybody, but figuring that out first time by yourself, wow. And now really extending yourself and having programs in place to help people, that is awesome. I can't even give you more kudos if I could. One of the other organizations you're a part of, Alpha DC chapter, and your recent involvement with the Pan American Symphony Orchestra. That is super cool in and of itself. It's such a diverse range of interests that you have. How do you think these roles really complement your professional life at ServiceNow?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So with Alpha and Pan American Symphony Orchestra, I actually, again, through ServiceNow and through the affinity group, or what we call employee belonging group at UNIDOS, first introduced me to both organizations. Alpha has a national partnership with ServiceNow, and the Pan American Symphony Orchestra. There was a volunteer event held a couple months ago, a virtual volunteer event with Pan American Symphony Orchestra and an organization called Taproot that helps us volunteer our time virtually to organizations and nonprofits, more specifically, that need assistance from strategy and guidance to marketing, and then if you're more technical, on the technical side of the house, whether it's building a website or coding or whatever have you. So both were actually introduced to me via ServiceNow, which again, it all reverts back to my passion of UNIDOS and the work I do at ServiceNow for the EBG group. But Alpha is a really awesome opportunity locally to really grow my professional network, right? And meet and interact with and network with like-minded individuals like myself within the DC organization. And most major cities across the US have also chapters as well. And so when you surround yourself with like-minded people, the creative juices, the cultural juices start to flow a lot better. And so the inspiration then comes with that, which then inspires me to continue doing the community service work that I do in my local community as well. And then the other organization, Pan American Symphony Orchestra, I got in touch with them via ServiceNow to help them kind of strategize and think about how they want to end up growing and their cultural exposure to the area. And so what both organizations has helped me grow professionally with the work I do at ServiceNow. It's helped me strategize, right? It's help me utilize the tools that I've been able to learn, for example, in my MBA, which I wrapped up a year and a half ago, to utilize the skills that I learned there to then strategize and help them come up with a plan to grow organically. So tying that all back to professionally speaking, it's helped me exercise my strategy and critical thinking to be able to do something good for the community.
Gosh, and you really are leveraging your role so much. So you mentioned your MBA, and I'm smiling because of when I saw you at coffee. You had completed your MBA from the University of Illinois, and that's a significant achievement. And you were wearing a shirt, and I laughed because I said, "What is that?" It was University of Medici sweatshirt.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, did you go to school there? Would you like to share this humorous story as well?"
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a sweater that says Medici University, and the reason it's not an actual school, but Medici in Spanish language means nosy, and that's something that I've been called since I was a little kid, because I always had my nose in and out of everything, trying to figure out who's doing what, who said that, how does that work, and so it was funny. I have that on, and it's one of my go-to sweaters when it gets a little chilly outside. But on all seriousness, I did graduate from the University of Illinois with an MBA, and I'm happy to say that I'm one of the small percentages of Latinos with a master's or MBA degree out there, which I think is a hopefully inspires other folks, other kids growing up as well. Certainly want to make the connection for my two girls, both my daughters growing up, so that they know that their dad put in the work.
Yes. And I wanted to bring that up because I thought it was so funny when you were explaining to me nosy, having your nose in business. You're not just as a person and knowing you and even hearing you on the podcast, you genuinely care. So you're the type of person we do want to be nosy because you look in and you see, how can I help this? Like it's incredible. I love that. So I just wanted to bring up that humorous part of our coffee. Pivoting a bit, ServiceNow's motto about helping employees do their best work resonates with your personal ethos. So I wanted to see, how does the company's culture, initiatives like well-being days, how does that influence your own work-life balance?
Yeah, absolutely. So ServiceNow gives me the opportunity to focus on myself, right? Not just mentally, right? Because we have mental well-being days that we get so often throughout the year. But it also helps me with my soul, right? To helps me feed my soul in the sense that I get to do these passion projects. I get to help my community, which then helps me come back to work feeling refreshed and wanting to make a difference at ServiceNow with our customers and doing the work that we do. So ServiceNow has that balance and has allowed me to create that balance, something I didn't have before, where I can focus on work, but also focus on the work that helps feed my soul. And that, I think, within our community, in the Latino community, we tend to focus put our heads down and focus on the work, clock in, clock out the door, and just kind of go unseen. And so ServiceNow has allowed us to obtain any platform that we want to be able to make a difference.
Yeah, that's so helpful. Just taking well-being days, feeding your soul, gives you time to really think, assess where you're at. I love that. I think that's worth emulating. You mentioned being a father to two young daughters. You've expressed the legacy that you want to leave is being a helper in the community. Very noble. So, how do you hope to shape the world that they grow up in? And what steps are you taking to make this a reality for them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want them to see when they look at me that I wasn't afraid to pursue things that I had in mind to do. I want them to not be afraid, to be able to go out into the world and try to make a difference, whether that's doing similar passion projects and being involved in the community like myself, or becoming something of themselves, being part of that small percentage. Hopefully by the time they grow up, that percentage increases, right? In MBAs or doctors or lawyers or what have you. So that's the legacy. But the legacy that I want to create for them is to understand that the world needs help, just like they need help. We all need help. We all need to help one another. And I think our community is rooted in that. Our community for sure helps one another. And I think that's the lesson I want to leave them. And in doing so, it's evolved to me being a parent of a first grader, making sure that I'm involved in her school through PTA efforts and that sort of thing. So another example of something I'm involved in is an organization called MSAC, which stands for Minority Student Achievement Advisory Committee, through the school district. And what they do is keep in mind minority students and their families when it comes to championing opportunities and academic access and resources and school policy and that sort of thing. So that's a legacy. Another legacy I hope to leave for my girls is the fact that I was there, I was present.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. And I think once you had shared with me, and it really left an impact on me when we met a couple months back. You had said, one day when my girls grow up, I want them to walk into a conference room and just be respected for who they are. They don't even have to open their mouth. That's the road I want to pave for them. Whereas now there's a little bit of proving themselves that needs to be done. And I love that it's such a beautiful thing you're doing and paving a way for a world like that, where people are respected just for walking into a room. I think that's amazing. So wanted to ask you too a little more about your daughters. You're also, it's funny, there's so many organizations you're a part of, and I love it. You're also a part of your daughter's PTA at school, which is amazing. And that shows your commitment to active parenting as well. So how do you manage balancing these responsibilities, all of the different extracurricular activities you have, events you're a part of, events you go to? How do you balance it all? Professional life, personal life. What's your method? Or are you just really good at juggling?
Absolutely. I think it's a little bit of both, right? So I've got some pretty good time management skills going on, but within our community, I think it has a lot to do with it takes a village, right? It's not just on myself or my spouse to raise our girls. We luckily have the help of our family locally as well. But also it evolves to a lot of the stuff that I do incorporates our girls, right? The LEDC, for example, if I need to go to support a local small business, it's usually a restaurant. So I can take the girls to go grab a bite to eat with them and support the local small business that way. So I keep that in mind, that it does take a village. I have the support of my family. I have the support of my team members at work, as well as the local community. And I think that evolves to how my girls see a sense of community as well. And so luckily I'm blessed in that sense.
Yeah.
And plus,
No,
if you like what you're doing, you make time for it as well.
yeah. No, I love that. I think that's great advice. Time management, but also in a way, including your girls. They're watching you, take them for a lunch. They see how you're interacting. I think that's great. You're gonna raise powerhouses in the making. So that's super cool. Your leadership style, we had talked a little bit about this, that you used to be stern but fair, but you've evolved into coaching and servant leadership. What prompted this change, and how has this really impacted your team at work?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first stepped into the world of management years ago, I was given the opportunity by a mentor a couple years ago, and when I interviewed, he asked the question, "What's your management style?" And I thought the best answer was going to be stern but fair, right? You keep your eye on the ball, and you do what you have to do, and you run a tight ship, right? That's evolved over time, where I've learned that people appreciate the coach. People appreciate someone that's going to be there alongside them and not necessarily in front of them, right? And so that's evolved into my leadership style, whether it's being the co-chair at UNIDOS or being a board member within the nonprofits that I'm in. Is thinking about how I would want to be led, right? How I would want to be managed. And so that's evolved to this coaching and servant leadership mentality, focusing on leveling up, growing, developing, rather than being stern but fair. And so that's the approach that I've taken, that's evolved over time through my leadership's skills.
Mm-hmm. I think it's noble, and also you get actual true commitment from within other people in that management style. The old way, stern but fair. I mean, it's great. It's good to be a kind, fair leader, but that doesn't garner maybe the support internally from the team. So really coming alongside of people really helps get their buy-in. So I think that's worth emulating, and it's worth other folks who are listening to this, who are leaders, considering how to be a coach, how to come alongside the team. So what's some advice that you would offer junior candidates about kindness and the importance of recognizing those who support you? Can you expand a bit on this philosophy?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, the piece of advice is always remain kind, no matter what level position you're in. And then the other second piece of advice, and I've got a couple of mentees that I mentor that are early in career. And the one thing I tell them, they always say, thank you for doing what you're doing. How could I ever repay you, or what have you? I always tell them, it's not about the thank yous. It's not about what I'm looking for. It's about paying it forward, right? Making sure that you evolve into this coach, into a servant leader in some way, without you don't necessarily need to have the title, right? You make sure that you push forward, do what you have to do, be kind, and then pull people up, right? So push forward and pull up is a mantra I like to. I've heard this last year, and then I certainly live by, because that way you're doing something good, and you're helping others. Ultimately, it all reverts back to helping others. I think that's where my passion lies, both professionally, but also outside of work as well.
Awesome. Last question, Mr. Jeffrey Vique. Looking ahead, you mentioned you want to aspire to be a chief of staff in 10 years. What steps are you taking to move towards this goal?
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple of steps. The first one is making sure that I'm equipping myself with the education, the background, the knowledge that I need to. So taking certifications and always expanding my knowledge. For me, I've always been a lifelong learner, and making sure that I don't give anyone the excuse that I'm not I'm not prepared or don't have the background to do so. And the second thing is always network, right? Always go out and meet people and have conversations, be genuine, right? In your interactions with people, and that'll help you build not only your network, but also help you get inspired to be able to take the appropriate steps, hear feedback, constructive or positive, on what you need to do to focus on. And so those are the steps, right? Knowledge and networking, and then just getting out there, and good things will happen, as long as you live by the kind words.
Yeah, kindness. That is your mantra.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing your background. I think you're an inspiring individual, from how you rose up the ranks at work, how involved you are in the community, how passionately you love your daughters, how you're creating a new world, not just for them, but the community at large. It's very exciting hearing your story. And if folks are interested in connecting with you more, is the best place LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can reach out to me at LinkedIn, Jeffrey Vique.
Perfect. And for those listening, thank you for joining us today. Remember to subscribe for more inspiring stories. Leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Stay tuned for more conversations that delve into the lives of those who lead with purpose. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.